Crash Course Live is presented by
Smash It Demolition Derbies, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, host of May Mania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com.
Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York. And now your host, Chris Marquardt.
Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to this edition of the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, episode number 378 on deck tonight. And we've got Steven Sickles joining us to talk a little bit about the season as a whole, as we saw the Turkey Derby go into the books, the penultimate event for the Unified Point Series in the books. We'll go over the results from that event, in addition to some of the other happenings that has led us to this point. There's only one event left in the Unified Point Series this year. It's Young and Reckless's Winter War Zone in White Pine, Tennessee. That's scheduled for December 4th, so that's coming up this weekend. So we'll be looking at head to that a little bit. We'll go over the points and all that stuff. But first, before we get any further into the show, we just got to make sure that everybody knows that Frankie Guy's not dead. I don't know if anybody saw the post that he put up today. It's a picture of him tipping his hat over the top of the hardcore trailers. It goes away, and his image is superimposed and kind of faded out a little bit on the landscape. And if anybody were to look at it quick, you might think that perhaps Frankie Guy had left us far too early. TJ McCulloch was having a little bit of fun on that post. So, yes, just in case anybody does happen upon that and doesn't take the time to read the post, Frankie Guy is still very much alive and well and looking forward to the 2022 season. Another guy who is very much alive and well, Steven Sickles, joining us on the line after an outstanding year on the Unified Point Series, coming away with just an incredible effort front to back. Started with a real fast pace and built up a big lead, picked up another win here just a couple weeks ago over at Deadman, and celebrated the win with the door wraps and roof sign and everything. And at this point now you got a ring on your finger, and the prize money's been paid out too. So it's all official. Nobody can catch you, Steven. One event left. Tell me a little bit about what it's like to be the 2021 champion.
Yeah, there's a lot of preparation and work that went into it. I don't know that it was anything I'll ever do again, but it was definitely a journey and an experience that I will never forget and will always appreciate.
Did it become more tangible or more real, I guess, when the wraps and the roof sign and stuff got put on the car?
I mean, I had known for a while because I think I went into the season more prepared than anyone else, I would say. I had a pretty sizable lead going into July and August, so unless something happened to me that I quit running completely and then someone else stepped up in the other direction, I didn't foresee anything changing from mid-season till the end of the season.
Jeffrey Schumann checking in on the chat said that the picture of Frankie looked like Dale Earnhardt riding off into the sunset. So much of this Unified Point Series is based on the fact that you don't have to run every derby. Preparation is going to reward wins. You look at the folks that are running at the top, and it's a pretty sizable spread, just moving from first back to 10th in terms of the amount of points scored. Scotty Drevenak, 48 points to his credit. I know he participated in far more than what the point total might show, but 48 points was able to get him up into that 10th place. You, on the other hand, piling up 176 points. How much is preparation? You know, we always talk about demolition derbies are one in the garage. You got to have some luck on your side too. It's not like you were going to shows where you had a ton of people that you necessarily knew. Everybody knows that you're a force to reckon with when you get out there and drive a car, or a van in that case, anyway. But the preparation that you said that you prepared more for it this year, what goes into that aside of just having a stockpile of cars and some cage material?
Just dotting all your T's and crossing your I's, right? Yeah, last year I was ill prepared and I was still building stuff onto the way of the track. It felt like this year I showed up to the Derby. I unstrapped. I could pull straight into tech and pull out of tech. Very little work once I hit the road, which was a blessing, especially after traveling 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 hours. And then having to get there and work on a car would just have been unbearable. So other than, I believe, 2 shows this year I ran, I actually didn't run some of the shows at the end of the year that I planned on running. And then I think I added 2 shows because I wasn't going to run Salina or Solana. I don't know how. I think it's Solana. And then I wasn't going to run the one show at Preble, and I ended up throwing a car together and still went out there. And both of them, I ended up winning Preble, and then Solana, I got third in Mad Dog. But other than that, my cars were built, ready to roll, and tidied up a day or 2 ahead of time. So,
you mentioned skipping a couple of those shows late in the summer. One of the things that really helped separate the gap early on was you'd piled up so many wins so quickly, as everybody else was kind of shuffling around second and third places, and you were running that absolutely torrid pace. Did skipping those shows, was that a product of the lead, or was that a product of just keeping yourself sane in terms of what goes into getting to some of these longer tows and some of the builds that you were putting together?
It was a product of the lead is the reason I skipped it, because if I needed it, I would have been there.
Right.
It helped me as far as at work. I was at times throughout the year I was getting behind. So being able to skip a couple of shows, Michigan, I really wanted to get up to Michigan because I've never ran there, never been up in that area. I wanted to. I didn't make it, but it just made sense at that point in my life to take a break since I had a lead and sort of recuperate my energy.
Right. I mean, the amount of time that you sunk into building cars and being prepared, and like you said, the going over the cars and dotting the I's, making sure everything was ready to go. There's cost there, not necessarily monetary cost, but it's taxing on your system to do that many times over, and then you turn around and you're hauling on exhaustion and stuff. So I understand that among the top 3 so far, there's been $27,500 that's been paid out. Mark Elliott just sent me a message about that, which is just an astounding amount of money. But in order to have the season that you had, and in order to have the results, it's not something that just fell into your lap. I mean, if you sit down and sort of take a tally of what, not necessarily the dollars and cents cost, but what the cost on you was to put the season like this together.
Oh, a little bit of everything. Health, family, a little bit of everything. I mean, There was multiple shows that I got bumped up and banged up. I mean, thankfully, I didn't have any major injuries this year. Almost 30 runs and nothing crazy. But there was weeks that I hit my hip off the cage and I couldn't walk for 2 or 3 days. And there was multiple things that, like, I should have probably skipped a week or 2, and I just pushed through it and put my family through hell and made it work.
We're talking about this season almost in terms of like a football season. I got bumped and banged and bruised up a little bit, but there was no major injuries, so you're able to play hurt. I just think that it's just astounding when you start thinking about the number of taking it away from Demolition Derby. And yeah, it's fun to wreck cars and stuff, but you think about it, you were through how many organized car accidents this year?
Where I get sore after running. There was definitely a point in the season where, like, I would run 2 shows a weekend for 3 or 4 weeks in a row, and I felt amazing. I end up feeling worse when I wouldn't run for 3 or 4 weeks and then run once.
Right.
It was like my body just like became accustomed to, like, oh, we're doing this again.
That's a testament to what an individual's body can take. I mean, the amount of abuse that your body goes through in one of these things is crazy. And you're talking about doing it 30 times through the course of the year at a high level.
I went through a lot of hard competition too. I mean, there wasn't a lot of cakewalks, and I mean, I was running all different things from mild weld cars to vans, and I don't know if any of you guys have ran vans. They hit about the hardest out of anything I ever ran. So they're definitely, there's pictures of me in Washington Courthouse with my seat laid all the way back 3-4 inches up off the ground. There was definitely a lot of abuse.
Man, it is very, very busy tonight. Live chat is hopping. Everybody's extending their congratulations and commenting on the season. Is there any one derby at this point? I know we still got one more. Let's back that up. Are you gonna be going down to White Pine?
I am not going to be going down to White Pine, but I will be in Daytona. I'm running the first of the year.
Okay.
So,
is there any one event that stands out in your mind on the landscape of things with, I mean, the remarkable number of wins that have been piled up with this? I think the count was 17. Is there any one that stands out? Or have the layered concussions made some of those memories a bit more foggy?
I mean, I do have some memory issues, but I would say at the beginning of the year when it was an interesting show to see when Dawn was still in the competition, my friend Matt was still running. We went out to Illinois, and of all things, I didn't never expect to see Dawn in a minivan. Mm-hmm. And winning that show there. Because, I mean, I know he has the ability, obviously, as a driver. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. He could have been right there at the end if he would have stuck with the competition. Mm-hmm. He was the biggest threat at the beginning because anytime he pulls on the track, I mean, I've barely seen a man lose. So, that one, River City Rampage, and that was my first tow show. Mm-hmm. Just the environment and the guys in the full size out there. That's a good show to go watch. They drove hard from beginning to end. The big money class, there was no bagging. They had the Imperials. I just enjoyed that weekend.
The season as a whole continues to get closer to winding down. Against White Pine is going to be the finale this weekend out at the Turkey Derby. Scotty Drevenak ended up picking up a win on the youth side of things. This picture doesn't want to load. It's a little tough to read. Let me see if I can find
He's a good driver. I do want to touch on the second and third place. Them kids, not that the kids have bright futures, but the parents of them children, mm-hmm. they deserve a lot of credit. I know Holly, Travis, Clint, they all put in a lot of time, effort, and finances to making sure their kids had an awesome time, and that's going to be memories that you'll never forget. I wish that I was able to do something like that when I was a kid. So, well,
we're making reference to second and third place here. We'll give you a peek at it here real quick. This is the point standings as it sits right now. Again, last event is going to be the Young and Reckless Show. Winter War Zone, White Pine, Steven Sickles clinched the championship with 176 points. Mason Stacy making a bit of a run here, but just simply run out of time at this point. With 126 points, Mason is the runner-up. That's one of the youth drivers, Terry Abadi, in third place with 96 points. Dan Ruse has been holding down fourth place for quite a while. Ricky Duggins and Jordan Rutherford tied for fifth. Don Santel jumping up to seventh place in a tie with TJ McCulloch with 60 points, JD Loring and Scotty Drevenak, another one of the youth drivers. So at least three of those drivers in the top 10 are youth participants. Scotty Drevenak got a win at the Turkey Derby in the youth division over Ethan Byrne and Vincent Bauer. Jonathan Heilman picked up a win in the light minis over Bill Frey and Mariah Reese. The 80s wire class, Austin Smith won that one. Michael Bettinger, Levi Bowman, second and third. Kelvin Unger was the Mad Dog in that one. William Maddy got first place. Second place went to Michael Hardesty. And Josh Burns was third in the mini mods. Kendall Morrison got the Mad Dog Award. Limited Well Trucks, Robert Vanderwerf got the win over Nelson Sanford and Trevor Cuccier. Nelson Sanford also got Mad Dog in that second place effort. Don Santel took the win in the limited weld side of things. Toast was second, PJ Schnarr was third, and Mad Dog. And then in the Turkey Derby kicker class, Ben Schell got the win over Shane Jones and Jody Braden. Don Neal took the Mad Dog there. And that is where things are going into that last event over there in White Pine. So, you said you wish you had that opportunity, and I can't imagine how different Demolition Derby would be right now if these opportunities like this were out there for kids. How is it that you got into Demolition Derby to begin with? This is something that's still fairly new in terms of the point series, which you've been driving for a while.
Yeah, so my dad ran, I think he started in, I want to say, 89, and he ran in the 90s and early 2000s, but he ran locally. We went to all of Fayette County, which is what hardcore sort of consumed now.
Yep.
We went to New Alexandria to go watch occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, we didn't even know about derbies. He stopped in 04 or 05. I started in 08. I didn't even know about anything other than Fayette and New Alex until 13 or 14, I think, the first year. I went. We were at New Alex on a Friday night. And my friends were talking about going to Bash, and I'm like, you know what? We're going to go, just out of nowhere. And I think 2013 was the first time I went to a national event, I would call it.
Right.
We just, were sort of blind to that. And then as soon as I found out about it, of course, I'm everywhere now because it's what I enjoy doing in my spare time. So, but, yeah, he ran and got me started into it. But when I started, I was still in high school, of course. Oh, shit, my TV just started playing something. When I started, I got one car a year. That was his rule.
Yeah.
So I had a compact the first year and a full-size the second year. And they were bone stock. Body mounts, 302 in the Ford. What ended up taking me out was I didn't even strip the thing right because he made me learn a lot on my own. I didn't remove the windshield wiper motor, and it ended up bending into some throttle linkage, and yeah. But I started out one car a year, and then as soon as I got the ability to do it myself, I definitely vamped up from there.
What's his take on all of this? The evolution of Demolition Derby where promoters are working together and you're awarded points and you're traveling all over the place and you're doing so many derbies all over the country. I lost count of how many different states that we've seen you win in, be it in person or just through the point series results too.
Yeah, I actually have to count the states again myself. He loves it.
Yeah.
He ended up having an injury is the reason why. It's not an injury. He had a medical issue. They had to remove part of his ribs for it ended up not being cancerous, luckily. But they removed a few parts of his ribs, and he ended up not doing any contact stuff like this anymore. But he's definitely, if I ever need him, he's the first person that I can call, and sometimes he might complain a little bit, but he's always going to be there. If one of my friends bailed on me this weekend and they can't go to Illinois, he'd hop in the truck and take off work and figure out how to get there. So he definitely enjoys it.
Is it easier to run out of town? We've often heard people talk about, well, I don't know anybody when I'm out of town, so I can hit everybody without worrying about hurting feelings. After you win a couple of these things, though, I got to believe that people are going to be kind of keeping an eye on what's happening over there with that Sickles car. And you might end up being more targeted because they don't know you, so it doesn't matter if they hurt anybody's feelings or not. Is it easier to run without friends? Is it harder?
It was back and forth this year. I had a little bit of both. I had certain places I went to, they were really welcoming and just they were thankful that I came from out of town to come run their show. So they had linked me up with a few friends and this and that. And then I would go to some places, like I went to Proctorville, and them guys hated me. That's the one I think the one boy hit me before. He left on 4 and destroyed the back half of my car in one good shot. But it just depended on where I went. Now, as far as driving, I didn't let it get in my head this year. Last year I did a little bit traveling and putting pressure on myself.
Yeah.
This year it's just another show. Didn't matter who's on the track. Anything can break. Anything can happen. Just stay in your lane, as John Shipley would have told me, and do your thing.
Well, I mean, you've written your name into the history books now as the 2021 champion. But you said it's probably not something that you do again. You've been able to check the box. You wouldn't do it again because of the amount of time that it took?
With a limited schedule, I know he's backing the schedule down some. I don't know what shows he's changing or what. It might be more appealing, but having to, I mean, I feel that there's other people in this country, obviously, that were capable of keeping up with me or doing better than me.
Right.
So that put the pressure on me to run and do as much as I did.
Mm-hmm.
If the showcase out there was limited down, I think it would help me be interested in running again for it. I do know there's already a few shows that I'm signed up for next year, so I wouldn't be surprised that I say that I'm not running again, and then I'd be in the mix towards the end of the year,
right,
and maybe try and compete for top 5.
I'm hearing you.
To plan it out to plan out 20 shows ahead of time. I mean, man, I can't tell you how much money I spent in entry fees. I think I texted Mark the other day. I think it was over $3,000 in entry fees.
Wow.
It was just insane. And I'm going to track down and look and see how many miles I put on vehicles. It's up there.
It's a remarkable effort to go and make that many of the shows, and Mark and I have always talked about, you know, the fact that you don't have to run the whole thing. You could conceivably run. You look at Jordan Rutherford's with 66 points. If he ran 6 out of the 30, you know, I know he ran probably a little bit more of that, but let's say he ran 10. He only ran a third of the schedule, and he's sitting right up there in the top 5. That's one of the things about the way it works. You don't have to run every single last show. But when you look at it the way that you just described, with other people that have the ability to do better or can keep pace or whatever, that internal fire, it starts to burn a little bit hotter. That fire starts to burn a little bit brighter, and you got to go and you got to go make it count. And Steven, that's what you did this year. At what cost, between the miles and the cars and all that other stuff, it's pretty crazy, but it's something that nobody's going to take away, and it's pretty cool. It's something I hope that you're proud of it.
Yeah, I definitely didn't want to leave any doubt that I was going to be able to do it, and then I didn't want it to come down to, like last year, it came down to Shipley versus Santel at Turkey Derby. If either driver makes a mistake, the other driver wins. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want that kind of pressure, so I put the workload earlier into the year as far as making sure I obtained the points and did what I had to do. Right.
I mean, if you once you get a lead with the way that the point structure is, once you get a lead, the pressure comes off a little bit. With the size of a lead that you got, all you had to do really at different times is you just got to make top 3 at that point, because then even at that point, if the person chasing you finishes first, they're only going to be able to chew up 4 points. They're not going to be chewing up 10. They're not going to be chewing up whatever. So they're only going to gain 4 points on you if you're finishing. So it's a little bit easier to sustain it.
And I definitely had some stress earlier in the year because there was I was not in the lead for the first I don't know how many shows, but I wasn't in the lead going into the first, I don't know if it was 6, 8 shows, whatever it was. So I had that pressure, but I just stayed with my plan, and I have a binder where I literally have every derby, the rules, the build sheet, how I'm doing, what car goes here, what goes. I mean, this was planned out since last November. I mean, I started building the car that I ran at Hardcore Washington show, which was at the end of, or at some point in August. I built that car last November.
Wow.
So,
was there any car that fought you in terms of trying to
doing a series? start now.
Was there any car that fought you? Just no matter what you did with this car, it just did not want to get built. It did not want to go to the Derby.
You know what? I stuck with my Toyotas, and they did not. I did build. I built a few full size. I got my ass kicked down at a Wicked show at Urban Destruction. That car probably fought me the worst.
Yeah.
And I had the most money in it, the most time, everything in that car. But I also, a lot of these stock cars, if you're looking to run big size or big cars stock, I'll give a shout out to a guy that helped me a lot this year, Robbie Crittenden.
Yeah.
He definitely made this year a lot easier on me as far as the full size stock stuff that I wasn't familiar with.
Sure.
And I don't think there's one car that he had his hands on of mine that I didn't wheel into the money even multiple times.
Have you discovered anything that you didn't know? Like, did you learn anything in terms of building this many cars, sticking with the Toyotas or working on the full-size stock stuff that you're going to be able to hang on to and apply that makes you more inclined to buy or run another one of those type of cars again?
Yes, I learned that 03 and ups are definitely not equivalent to 02 downs. And the right ones of them, the backs are even very hard. So I definitely, I end up stocking up on a couple of 11s for next year that I'm going to tinker with. And I really enjoyed them after only running 80s cars before.
Right on. Well, not bad. You you gotta pay for an education, I guess, and it all worked out. You got some returns on the investment. Is there anybody else? I know you talked about your dad and talked about Robbie, and you made mention of those youth drivers that have been chasing you around all summer too. Any thoughts or anybody else that you want to make? Anybody else that you wanted to make mention?
Elliott.
Go ahead.
Mark Elliott for just having this. I mean, I know the stress of running it. I couldn't imagine stress behind the scenes of keeping track of all of it and going forward from there. I know it was a lot on him. I've even thrown a suggestion like, hey, maybe like hire someone to go to a few of these shows and make sure everything's kosher and stuff. TJ McCullough, dead man, he was at a lot of these shows with me, and I know we supported each other from the beginning. Man, the Jeffy always with parts. Jason with ski, that 03 up I built, he was the first guy to help me with a lot of that stuff.
Right.
Feel like I chose the right guys for everything that I needed help with as far as in the Derby world. I got wheels and tires off Jordan when I needed them in a pinch. So a lot of these guys, even the guys that are in the top 10, helped me propel myself this season unselfishly. Mm-hmm. And I just got a ton of friends that helped me. No one individual recently that helps me ride or die, but I have a ton that throw in a hand when I need them.
Sure.
And I can't even list that out. And my girl Melanie does a lot for me that I can't even begin to really show my appreciation for that. But yeah, friends, family. I had a few sponsors. Frankie sponsored me a few times at Hardcore. They definitely got me a few places that I just helped financially ease the burden of the traveling. Few entries here and there.
Nice.
I mean, there's a lot of guys that help.
Well, I mean, it takes a village, you know. It's no surprise, and so many drivers up and down the scoring rundown or at events that aren't even part of the point series have a similar story that have an army, a fleet of people that are helping them in the background. But wanted to try and give you the opportunity to express the appreciation now that the 2021 season is starting to come to a close, and by all means, again, congratulations on that. Can't say that enough. It was a fantastic season to watch and follow along with, and glad that your body's recovering well and you're doing all right too.
One more thing though too, John Shipley, the champion from 2020.
Yep.
He he definitely was in my corner. Him and Bobby Joe were Team Sickles, and it showed. And they, everything that I did, that I listened to him, ended up working out how he explained it from the year before. So he explained how he became successful, and I sort of mirrored a few aspects of that, and that helped me for sure. On top of, he helped me out with building one of the vehicles for me, and I appreciate him and Bobby Joe, her, for letting him spend that time to where I was able to go out and hit another show that I wouldn't have been able to if I had to build that car myself.
That's awesome. You hear about that stuff a lot, man. County fair level even. You know, if somebody needs a part, you might get that part from your rival because it's a whole lot more fun to beat the guy that's on the track than leave him hung up in the pit area. That's something that happens in racing quite a bit too.
Oh, and absolutely. I helped a lot of people along the way, and I helped even just going to these little shows. I mean, I took time at every show to try and find youth drivers, and if I saw something obvious that they were doing that they just hadn't done a different way before, to sort of explain why I do this and why it works or seems to work. Mm-hmm. I helped a ton of people as far as just a little bit of tidbits of information here and there to try and progress the sport, I guess I'd say.
How many people did you tell the wiper motor story to?
Not many. I was embarrassed by that one.
Awesome. Well, I know you got some stuff planned for this evening. I appreciate you coming on the show, making some time for us tonight. As always, congratulations, and look forward to maybe catching up with you around the first of the year after Daytona wraps up.
As always, thanks for having me, and I appreciate your time, too.
Of course, man. We'll catch up with you soon.
Okay, have a good one, Chris.
Thanks a lot. We'll see you now. There goes
Bye.
Steven Sickles, 2021 Unified Point Series champion right there. 176 points to his credit. Want to take a minute. We've got Jeffy Schumann is hanging out in the live chat. Again, YouTube changed some things on us, so we're gonna go ahead and run with this. It looks like we should be okay. Jeffy's Fab Farm is an industry leader in all manner of purpose-built demolition derby parts, starting with rear ends in 06. The Fab Farm expanded to headers in 08, and the shop can boast a combined 70-plus years of mechanical skill. Jeffy's Fab Farm specializes in LS conversions and conversion components with consistent feature wins across North America. Your turnkey solution is only a phone call away. Jeffy's Fab Farm Camry Box campaign sets you up for success for retail price of $525, and you need to ask about the multi-fit shifter options. You'll also find fuel and air parts, suspension and transmission items, steering components, pedal switches, and gauges. If you need it, you can find it on the farm, jeffysfabfarm.com. Also, Smith Metalworks. We've been talking about Smith Metalworks now. They released a little bit of information, adding a live-action derby element to the expo coming up next spring. Smith Metalworks is an all-purpose fabrication shop that has taken the Northeast by storm. Smith Metalworks features more than 40 years of combined metalworking experience. The hallmark of the product line is the pointed and flat front bumpers. They've got the super stock bumper as well, replicating popular factory releases. They can be stuffed or run hollow. There's a compact version. Other items include crown Vic door skins, battery boxes, engine mounting systems, pedal combos, shifters. The shop offers all the odds and ends, such as distributor clamps and weld-in centers. Be sure to ask about the GM floor liners. In-person locations for pickup are in Mercer, Uniontown, and Bethlehem. Online, you can get it shipped to your door, smithmetalworks.info. Just wanted to bring things back to the desk here as we wrap this episode up. Brian was ordered to work, so he wasn't able to make it in this evening, and then so we should be seeing him back next Monday. And also wanted to take a minute while we were talking about the Unified Point Series. Brandon Dobratz clinched the virtual Unified Point Series championship. So he's got that in second place. He's got that locked up. And Andrew Christensen, he was hanging on to third so far. And that also is down to the final event. That's going to be contested the third and fourth as well. Brandon Reimer going to be hosting that one. Vito 324 Gaming. They're going to be streaming that action. Everything opens up for people looking to book events for the virtual Unified Point Series 2022 season. So there's going to be some money handed out to Brandon Dobratz, a couple of the top finishers, and it's paralleling just as expected. The virtual world pairing pretty nicely alongside the real world Unified Point Series. Of course, if you want to find out any more, we put that up a bit ago with the links and the information. Here it is one more time. find out everything more, everything as it develops for the 527 Unified Points Series online, 527unifiedseries.com. So I think we've covered pretty much everything that we wanted to cover in this one. We appreciate you tuning in and hanging out with us for a little while. And it looks like we are blinking on and off on our internet stream. So now seems like a real good time to sign off. That's going to do it for us here at the FingerLakes1.com studios. We'll be back again here next week. We look forward to seeing you then for episode 379.
The Crash Course Live is presented by Smash It Demolition Derby, who host Bash for Cash, Blizzard Bash, and Capital City Carnage. Online at smashitderby.com. And Stirring Dirt Racing, hosts of Maymania's team show at the Golden Spike Arena in Ogden, Utah. Online at stirringdirtracing.com. Reckless Abandon Derby Apparel, and Derby Inc. Magazine. This is the Crash Course Demolition Derby podcast, recorded live at the FingerLakes1.com studios in downtown Seneca Falls, New York.